Members of the House are getting paid to not work because the Speaker of the House, Mike Johnson, refuses to let them back in. Many Democrats believe that's because he's concerned that he will actually have to swear in a Democrat who won a race about a month ago and the consequences that would have. So if you're scoring at home, congressmen and congresswomen are getting paid for not working, while because of Mike Johnson, while people who are working hard day in and day out for the federal government now face a prospect of not getting paid while they do work. I wonder if that gives Republicans a black eye. I'm not good at this politics thing. I think probably will. Let's bring right out Democratic Congressman Ro Khanna of California. He's a member of the House Armed Services Committee. He's also vice chair of the Congressional Progressive Caucus. He's introducing legislation to Congress today that would ban elected officials from owning or creating cryptocurrency. We'll get to that in one moment. Congressman, I'm just curious. So the Justice Department may send out people to observe the elections in California, much like Jimmy Carter would send people to observe elections in third world countries. I'm curious, why wouldn't Democrats do the same thing and say, OK, well, for every Justice Department person looking, we'll have two or three Democrats also making sure that they don't get in the way of a free and fair and transparent election.
Well, Joe, you've given us our marching orders. We need to organize around the country. We're actually doing that in California. Rob Bonta, the Attorney General, and Shirley Weber have sent state-trained election monitors to these sites where the Justice Department is going to set up a site. We've set up a 24/7 hotline for citizens to call in if there are irregularities. The League of Women Voters are going to have election monitors. But I think that the answer to the intimidation, as you pointed out in your previous segment, is organizing. And one thing, Joe, that's going to happen when Abigail Spanberger wins in Virginia and Mikey Sherrill wins in New Jersey and Proposition 50 is going to pass in California and Mamdani has a big win in New York, we're going to show that this party can win. We can win back our base. We can win in rural America. We can win in suburban America. We can win with organizing. And I think the party needs that lift up in our spirits.
So, Congressman, let's shift gears now. There's been a lot of outcry about a pardon that President Trump issued for the CEO of Binance. He'd been serving a 4-month prison sentence for money laundering-related charges. This comes as Binance has been a very key supporter in the Trump family's cryptocurrency endeavors. You're introducing some legislation. Tell us about it.
This is blatant corruption. You don't need to know a lot about cryptocurrency to understand what went on here. You've got a foreign billionaire who was basically engaged in money laundering, having money go to Hamas, having money go to Iran, having money go to child abusers. He was convicted. He served 4 years in prison. And then he petitions for a pardon from Donald Trump after basically funneling money to terrorists. And what he does is he says, I'm going to support World Liberty, which is the president's son's cryptocurrency firm, which they're making millions of dollars on while Donald Trump is president. And Donald Trump gives him a pardon while he's basically financing Donald Trump's cryptocurrency stablecoin. It is so illegal. It is right in our faces, and we should ban any elected official from having cryptocurrency and accepting foreign money, which the Trump administration, the Trump family has done from UAE and from this foreign billionaire.
Congressman Khanna, hi, it's Molly. I'm wondering if you could talk. Annie Carney had a really good piece this weekend in the New York Times about Donald Trump talking about how he's actually the speaker. We've seen sort of reverberations of that throughout the party. This idea we saw even Republicans talking about how, you can't really make a deal with Mike Johnson because he's not really the boss, and that Donald Trump is. As we're on day 27 of the shutdown, is that the feeling in D.C., in the House? And also, do you think Trump has interest in making a deal?
Molly, I read that piece. It's embarrassing. I was embarrassed as a member of Congress. The White House is laughing at us. Steve Bannon's calling us the Russian Duma. It's as if we're a rubber stamp. And it's embarrassing, as Joe pointed out, that we're getting paid and not even in Congress. And that is because Mike Johnson refuses to open up Congress. The first thing we should do in Congress is to vote to pay our troops and to vote to pay federal workers who are showing up as air traffic controllers and approving drugs and not getting paid. And it is sad to me that the Congress's Republicans have basically become a subsidiary of the White House.
Democratic Congressman Ro Khanna of California. Congressman, thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
Coming up next here on Morning Joe, when a single unattributed missile is launched at the United States, a race begins to determine who's responsible.